Hey y'all, I was fixing to plant up a few things here on this end of this flower bed near the carport, and I thought I'd bring y'all along for it. I've got three different types of the proven winter Dianthus, and for me, Dianthus is an evergreen, so I think this will, give me some color during the winter time right here where it normally is just bare. And I've got the yellow Stella Diora daylilies, which are a ray bloomer. They bloom several times throughout the season, and they're dwarf. They're more of a dwarf variety. I'll give you the specs in a minute. And I've got two of, they look red to me, but it says purple on the tag. I'll show y'all that in a minute. They're also Stella Diora. It's Stella Diora purple. Again, they look red on the tag, but we'll see if they bloom this year or next year, whenever they bloom, and I get to see what color they actually are. Because, in the horticultural world, sometimes the colors are not what they say they are. And I've also got two bubblegum petunias that came back from last year right here that I'm just going to leave. Now, last year I had planted some Dianthus here, but I also had lemongrass, and lemongrass gets really big. I had started it from seed, and I love lemongrass, and it was beautiful here. But I'm not going to do that this year because it smothered out my Dianthus, and it ended up dying. And it smothered out a couple other things too. So I'm going to stay away from the lemongrass this year, at least for right here. But I'm also going to divide these Stella Diora purple daylilies. I'm going to go ahead and divide them as I plant them, or before I plant them, because I want to put one in between each of the Dianthus. And I've also got a family member who's wanting some sprouts off of it, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to show y'all the specs first, though, on the Stella Diora. Okay. You can see it says purple Diora, but that looks red to me. Like I said, we'll see when it blooms. It's supposed to bloom from summer to autumn, which is typical for the Stella Diora. And it says sun to part shade. I always put mine in full sun because I've tried putting them in part shade, and they just didn't bloom as good. They only get 15 inches tall, and you're supposed to space them 2 foot apart. So, they'll make it probably a 2 foot mound because they clump. They just continue to clump. They produce like tubers. And I've got a yellow one over there sitting on top of the ground. It's one I dug up. I actually only had one, that one over there by that gray pot. And I dug up the other one, and I'm going to plant it over here too. Now, I could divide it. It's perfect to be divided, actually. It has a space in between some of them. But since the other one looks so full, I think I'm going to, for this year, just leave it in one clump and let them both grow. And next year I may divide both of them. We'll see. But let's get started. I'm going to pop these out of the pot, and we're going to see how I can divide this. This pot is completely filled up. Well, I may have to cut these out of the pot. Nope. Look at those roots. That's what you want to see when you pop something out of the pot. Okay, now I'm going to start out by dividing these in half. Just like this. Okay. Then I think I'm going to take this one and I'm going to just take some off of it since I'm gifting some to a family member. And that's still a good little clump for my family member who was wanting some. And see, you could divide this again in half if you wanted to. You actually could both of them, but I'm not going to. We're just going to see how this is going to be spaced here. I'll lay it down. And now let's take the other one and divide it. And now when you're looking to divide it, you want to kindly find a place where, you know, you can see that it'll be easy to divide it without just destroying all your foliage on it. Now I like to start with the roots and kind of work my way up. Okay. That's a pretty little clump. Let's see. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut just a little bit more off of this one. Just like that. Okay. Alright. I'm going to put the smaller one between these two, just like that one was a little smaller. This one's a little fuller. And I think that's going to look really good. Okay. Now I'm ready to start digging the holes. Let's see if y'all can see what it's going to look like all the way around. Okay. Let's get started digging. I'm going to have to move this one out of the way. This one also has some creeping Jenny in it. And I was going to pull it out. But I kind of think it would be pretty to have some kind of running, spilling out of this edge of this flower bed here. So I'm going to leave it. I love creeping Jenny. And I have quite a bit of it around near the ponds. But I think around there it's more green. It's not as chartreuse during the after spring once the trees all leaf out. It's just more green. And so I think this would be, having it here where I get to enjoy a little bit of the chartreuse color is going to be good. And I know some people are not crazy about daylilies. But I think if you place them in areas where you have other things, but once they're not blooming, if you're doing one that's not a re-blooming one, you get to enjoy the foliage that looks, you know, it's the grassy foliage, but then you have other plants near it that are, you know, going to be blooming and take over. Let's see if that fits. I want to turn it this way. Oh yeah, that's just right. Okay. Since I don't want to bury all the creeping genie, I'm going to try to pull some of it up this way. Now you would probably benefit from putting water in the hole, but I'm going to water it in good after instead of filling the hole up right now. I'm just going to wait. I will say though, Creeping Genie it spreads pretty good, so you might want to kind of be careful with where you plant it. You know, don't plant it somewhere where you don't mind it spreading, or you're going to be pulling up Creeping Genie constantly. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I think I'm going to go ahead and dig all these holes and get them planted. And then I'll bring y'all back because I'm going to show y'all what to do with the Dianthus when it looks bad like this. And I'm going to tell you why it looks bad like this. Holes dug and the plants setting in them. I advise you to always set your plants in there when you're doing multiple plants in an area to make sure they're in the spot you want them in before you plant them, because it's easier than having to dig them up and plant them all over again. So I'm just going to do the same thing with all of these. I'm going to go ahead and plant them. Then I'll water everything in good once it's all planted. And some of this stuff sat in water for a couple of weeks, which I'll talk about that when I go to cut back these Dianthus here. Which looks terrible at the moment. I think this one could have went a little bit deeper, but it'll be okay. And I hit a bunch of rocks when I was digging these holes. I'm going to try to not step on my petunias here. I'm just going to give them a good drink of water. And I will say, this time of year, you really should put water in the hole. But we're just getting so much rain till a lot of my plants are starting to drown. Things that are not planted, and so I'm kind of toning down the water. Okay. I think that's good. Now, I'm going to get some clippers and I will show y'all what I'm going to do with this terrible looking Dianthus. Now this is gonna, might freak some people out, but it's not gonna hurt the Dianthus. It's actually gonna be good for it. And the reason this looks so bad is because I had to go to a wedding a few weeks ago. Now you're just gonna grab this like this, and you're just gonna start whacking it. And I might have to use the other set of clippers. I got it. And now I know that looks not good, but it will flush back out. And once it does, it's actually going to rebloom. And you just want to do that with all of them. And you actually want to do that once they've stopped blooming like this one has. I mean, it's got one bloom on it and it's got a few buds, but it needs to be cut back so it can flush back out with all new blooms and be really pretty like it was in the spring. And it will do that. And I'll show y'all which ones these are. I'll show y'all the tags when I get them. I got one more to cut back. And again, I'm just grabbing the whole thing and taking it back to where it's just, I'm going to say that's probably maybe 3 inches above the ground. And there you go. And I'll bring y'all closer and show y'all closer up what it looks like. Well, get my shadow out of the way. You can see how sad that looks. The other toe doesn't look that bad. This one actually looks pretty good, and so does the third one. But what happened was, I had to go to a wedding a few weeks ago, and I was going to be gone for 4 or 5 days. And so I filled up a little kiddie pool half full of water because it was hot at the time and was going to be hot for several days. And just set a bunch of my plants in it, which would have been fine if I had pulled them out when I come back, but I did not do that. I waited, and so they started looking rough, and then I pulled them out of the water after they sat in there 2.5 weeks. I don't know. Anyways, and now I'm going to show y'all what types of Dianthus these are. The first one that looks so bad, it is the Fruit Punch Classic Coral. And none of these are going to get bigger than 8 to 10 inches. So, with a max of 14-inch spread. So, the second one, the one in the middle that has the blue foliage, it's more blue. The other two have green foliage. It is the Fruit Punch Black Cherry Frost. I think it's beautiful. It's a really like a dark pink, even though it's, you know, kind of red looking. It's got bits. And then the last one is it's a proven winner, and it just says it didn't have a tag in it. Some of these, I think all 3 of these actually I got on clearance. I know I did that last one that doesn't have a tag. It just says red, pit red Dianthus. So I'm not exactly sure which variety it is. I mean, you know, the exact name I should say of it. I'm not positive. But I'm going to give y'all an overview shot now of, because this area connects to this flower bed that I worked on in the fall that I completely redone. And I'm going to tell y'all a few things about it when I show it. Now this is the whole area that connects to. It's just an extension on the end past it, basically. So when you pull up to the carport now, you'll be able to see all the Dianthus, the Stella Dioras. And if you notice that red Japanese maple that was over there, that actually is already gifted to a family member. It's a sprout that came up from my big one. I'll show y'all it. That's the big one that it produces. It drops those little swirly seeds, and you know they've started coming up. This one is roughly 14 years old, and so it was about the size of that one in that flower bed when I first planted it here almost 14 years ago. Now let's get back to the flower bed. Okay, this flower bed was when I worked on in the fall. I completely redone it. I added evergreens to it. I pulled stuff out of it. I added different grasses that I divided, that I, took from the yard and divided and planted over there. And I think it's going to be really pretty. I have added a couple of packs of bulbs. I'll have to put on the screen what the names of them are because I don't remember. I did not do those on video, so. And then the bright orange in the middle is the Neo Sunjoy Barberry. I believe that's the name. I love that plant. I'm going to get 2 more. A lot of times I don't want to buy multiples. I'll just propagate, and I can propagate off of that one now. It's big enough, and I probably will propagate off of it this fall. But I'm still going to go ahead and buy 2, so I have 2, one on each side in front of the hydrangeas back there. Those are the little lime hydrangeas. And I want to have that orangey yellow red there in the front. This flower bed mainly it consists of chartreuse, greens and yellows, or the green and yellow like chartreuse colors, some dark green, the orange and red, and I believe, and of course the yellow. I've got orange, red, yellow. I know a lot of people don't like those colors, but with the white behind it, I think it's just beautiful. I love the white tones down. The little limes, they're like a limey white color. It tones down the bright colors that are in front. They just work great together, in my opinion. And so, as soon as I get a chance to go back to Pack's Nursery, because that's where I found that one, that's where I'm going to pick me up 2 more of those. Then this flower bed will look really good, but I also have an abundant amount of the blazing stars. I had dug those out in the fall when I dug stuff out of this flower bed and planted them in a different place, but they had bloomed, so they dropped seed, and now I've got a whole bunch of them in there again. I've debated on whether I want to let them bloom or just pull them out. I'm probably going to go ahead and pull them all out and just plant them where I planted the other ones, because I don't care if they spread where I planted the other ones. But in this flower bed, I don't want that happening. I don't want to plant things that's just going to be spreading everywhere. And the blazing stars absolutely spread everywhere. At least the variety that I've got does. And so, anyways, if you're looking to do a flower bed with, where you're dividing things and you're, planting clearance plants and, and you're just doing a small area that you want to do reasonably, at a reasonable price, I should say, then I hope this helps. Until next time, bye.